Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Selnar's Minis. Today we're going to continue painting up a Sehkmet Huntress miniature I have named Bennu from the Labyrinth model range. Before we get into that, I am going to take a moment to ask you to please like this video and subscribe to my channel. On the screen you can see all the paints that we're going to use today, and I will also provide a list in the video description below. At the end of the last video, I had asked my viewers what they would like to see me paint next, and the overwhelming answer was Bennu's hair and mask. With that in mind, I went to the web and started looking up different hair colors and eventually figured out a color scheme that I wanted to use for Bennu's hair. So today I'm going to be using a method called wet blending, and I will be showing you how to do that. It's a rather interesting methodology that requires you to have wet paint that you mix in between to get a intermediate color. So to start this off, I am going to paint Bennu's lower third of her hair with Cancer Awareness Pink. Why? Why pink, you ask? The reason why we're using pink is because pink is quote-unquote a magic color when it comes to yellow. And the color palette for Bennu's hair includes a bright yellow. Yellows are somewhat notorious. They have very bad coverage, and for the most part, they're fairly translucent. What pink does is allow the yellow to appear more opaque, allowing you to get better coverage and more closer to the color you're looking for versus white. So typically it only takes 1 to 2 layers of the yellow to get the desired look versus 3 to 4, sometimes even 5 if you go over white. Okay, I'm going to let the video run as I go around and paint the bottom third of Bennu's hair with this pink. I do 2 layers, as I stated in my previous video, and I'm just going to let the video run until we get to the next stage. Alright, talk to you soon. Okay, so here we are starting to wet blend Bennu's hair. Unfortunately, the video for the first part of this was lost as it was out of focus and mostly out of view of the camera. I'm going to talk really quickly about how to do wet blending and how to make it easier in your life. So wet blending is taking 2 colors and applying them to 2 spots of the model and bringing the edges closer together to blend them in between to make an intermediate color. Now for Bennu, I started on the top quarter of her hair with a color called Army Painter's Dark Stone, and then underneath it with a little bit of space in between, as you saw as we first went in the video, I applied Army Painter's Oak Brown and brought the 2 edges together and blended them together to make an intermediate tone to make a smooth transition. And I'm going to continue to do this with different colors. My next color should be Army Painter's Desert Yellow, and I'm going to apply that on the pink area, allowing that color to shine through a little bit more, but I'm also going to blend it in to Army Painter's Oak Brown. And you're just going to kind of keep going back and forth on this, trying to make a good intermediate color, but also coming back and applying more of the original color if you think you're losing too much of the original color. Now again, like I said, the pink is really good at making the yellow stand out. It's more for the next color I'm going to use, which is Army Painter's Demonic Yellow, which is going to go to the bottom portion of the hair. And basically what I'm going to go and do is just go back and forth and adjust these colors. There's no real set technique for this. You're just going to go back and forth, adjust it until you get what you like. Some people like a little bit harsher transition with a little bit of color shift in between them so that it doesn't look so abrupt. Some people like to do a much more like intense gradient. I'm just going to go through and until I'm happy with the look I get. Okay. While I go back and forth with these adjustments to her hair, I want to take a moment to talk about Bennu a bit more. So last video I gave a brief history about her. Let's talk more about the vision I have for this particular model and the scene she'll be in. In my mind, Bennu is in more of a defensive pose. So I envisioned her in a difficult situation. Maybe she's abroad on a scouting mission with her sisters. Maybe it's during a battle and things are not going as well for Kemet as the people had hoped. And I'm going to lean more heavily into she's scouting abroad, trying to get information for the Kingdom of Kemet to keep them safe. Her and her sisters, in her particular squad, are not in a good situation. And in my mind, they have chosen Bennu to go and relay this information to the Pharaoh and the Pharaohess. She's been told to escape, and she's not particularly happy about this. I will go over this story a little bit more and show you how to try to relay this when we get to the basin portion of the model. In the meantime, go ahead and continue to watch me as I go back and forth with the wet blending, trying to achieve the look I would like for this particular model. Alright, and now on to providing a highlight to the top of the head. To achieve this, I started off with a very broad highlight in the Army Painter Darkstone region by mixing Army Painter Darkstone and Army Painter Oak Brown in a 1-to-1 mixture. Then after that, I cover in a slightly less area. I went ahead and applied just Army Painter Oak Brown. And for the final portion of the highlight on the top of the head, I did a highlight of Army Painter Oak Brown and Army Painter Desert Yellow mixed in a 1-to-1 ratio. And then I went ahead and decided to try to apply some shade in the recessed areas in between her braids on her hair. And I did this with Army Painter Hardened Carapice. But however, I did make some mistakes, and as you can see, I kind of quickly used my finger to wipe away any regions that had touched the raised portions of the braids. And then I didn't take video of this off camera. I mixed some gradients and fixed any areas that me wiping the paint away did not work. With the hair finished, it was time to move on to the mask and the layers of beads on either side of the mask in her hair. To start off with, I'm going to paint the mask and the top layer of beads with Army Painter's Ash Gray. While I go ahead and paint this, some of you may have noticed that I have painted Bennu's eyes. And I actually did this off camera before I started filming. Reason being is I'm still having some difficulty with these more intricate details while I'm filming. It's just harder to see. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this ash gray all the way around. This will ultimately be our shade color for the mask, for the recessed regions and undersides of things. And then after I provide this initial layer, we'll go ahead and start the first highlight. So I wanted to give you guys a quick look at what the hair looked like when it was done. So here you go. Quick turnaround. Camera was being difficult while filming and not focusing on Bennu as much as I'd like, but there you go. Kind of a quick look at the hair. While thinking about Bennu's mask, I had a choice of either leather or a baked glazed clay mask. And I'm going to go more towards the baked clay mask while painting this up. And for this reason, I'm going to make some pretty quick transitions, mainly because the glaze would reflect the light a little bit more. So after the Army Painter Ash Gray dries completely, I'm going to start off with my first highlight, and that is going to be Army Painter Starship Exterior, which is a pretty big jump from the ash gray to this color. It's a little bit more on the white end of the gray. And I'm going to go ahead and apply this to a lot of regions on the mask. So I'm going to go around and paint this. And you'll see me make some adjustments. And at one point, you'll see me add a little bit more water to the mixture and apply it to the mask. And what that is I noticed I was starting to get a little bit of brush lines from where I was painting. In order to even that out and mellow it out a little bit more, I just add a little bit of water to help and move the paint a little bit to help soften those edges and make the paint strokes far less noticeable. And here, all I'm doing is just doing the same thing I did with the mask. I'm just adding some bright highlights to areas where I think the light would hit on the top layer of beads. This is still the Starship Exterior paint from Army Painters. And we are moving on to the second highlight for the mask. For this, I used Army Painters Starship Exterior and Folk Art White. You can use whatever white you want to use for this. Since I was mixing it, I didn't want to use a high quality paint because it would be lost in transition, so to speak. For this, it's 2 parts Starship Exterior and 1 part Folk Art White. And I go ahead and apply my highest highlights in various regions on the mask. For now, I have not added any pure white. I'm going to save that for when we're closer towards the end and we've based and I can figure out where I want my specular highlights to be after I apply some other effects to the model. Alright, and here we start off with the first application of the red that will be used on the mask and the beads. And I'm actually starting off with the beads, so I'm going to go around and add Army Painters Dragon Red to all the beads and to the raised portions of the mask. And it's here that I make my first mistake with the red. Oh no, red on white, it's the end of the world. No, it's fine. I just went ahead, I went around, and I just continued to apply the red to the rest of the areas on the mask I wanted to be red. I will come back and fix this faux pas a little bit later. I will use Army Painters Starship Exterior for this. I will end up fixing several portions the mask where the red has touched areas where I didn't want it to. I didn't show all of them just because it just happens so much. It's like little teeny tiny dots, little teeny tiny lines that happen when you're doing a application of red on raised areas. I'm trying to do my best to use the side of the brush as much as possible, but sometimes I had to use my tip, and that's where you start to make more mistakes. Again, don't worry about it. Mistakes can be fixed. You'll see the end result when we're done, and it looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to apply this Army Painter Dragon Red to the mask. And when we get to the next stage, I'll let you know. And this is just a quick little clip of me showing you how I fixed that mistake and how easy it is to fix these things sometimes. It depends on the color, but in this case, the gray covers the red really well. So after I fixed that, I'm going to go ahead and apply the next highlight to all the red clay areas. I'm going to start off with the beads and make my way over to the raised portions of the mask that are painted red. I'm going to use Army Painter Pure Red for this. I have said previously in another video that Army Painter Dragon Red and Army Painter Pure Red, to me they're different, but there isn't such a stark difference as there is with the Ash Gray and the Starship Exterior. But I'm going to go ahead and apply a highlight to all the beads and then work around the mask and try to hit areas where I think that the light would hit the mask more and make it a little bit more highlighted. This is not mixed with the Dragon Red, so this is going to be a little bit more of a jump, but I wanted that because I kind of am going for that glazed clay look. Alright, and for the final highlight for the red clay areas of the mask and the beads, I'm going to use a color from Army Painter called Mars Red. Mars Red is a reddish orange color, leaning a little bit more heavily towards the orange side of that spectrum. This is going to be very noticeable, in my opinion, against the Dragon Red, and I'm going to use this mainly for specular highlights on the beads and for smaller raised light reflected regions of the mask. While I'm going around and applying those highlights, let's talk a little bit about what we have left on Bennu. At this moment I have all the metallic regions and the epaulettes on her shoulders as well as her skin. I'm going to try to figure out what I want to do next, as far as do I want to do the epaulettes or do I want to do the metal regions. I do want to save the skin for last for various reasons, but I'm going to go ahead and think about that, and if people want to leave me a comment and let me know what they think, that would be great. Alright, thank you very much everyone for watching. I really appreciate you. I hope you have a really great day. Go ahead and paint. Remember, paint furiously. It's just paint. You can fix mistakes. Once again, thank you. I appreciate you, and you have a good day. Bye.